Everybody, welcome to the September 2022 Missouri Evergreen Cataloging meeting. First and foremost, we have a new consortium cataloger, Rudolph. She is here and she is going to wax poetic about herself.
Okay,
so
I'm not getting
welcome, Liz.
Okay, so I'm Liz Rudolph. Some of you may already know me. I worked as a director at St. Genevieve County, it feels like forever ago, 3-4 years ago.
Okay, I haven't got audio.
Months.
Okay, audio.
I then went to SEMO, Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau, but I've cataloged for about, 10 years plus. Yeah, so I don't know, ask me questions. I don't really know what to say about myself. I work from my house, obviously. That's in the background, my corgi coworker. That's Gibbs. Yes, he is named after the guy from NCIS. That's how my life works. So yeah, please feel free to ask me any questions via email or right now. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, Liz. If you email cataloger@moevergreenlibraries.org, Liz will be the one answering your questions there. And she also, of course, is helping us out at the Cat Help email address. She's still settling in. She's starting to really familiarize herself with our certification process and that kind of thing. She's got several things she's kind of jumping in on, and we can't wait to see how she works with us. Also a welcome to Bid Campbell of Cedar County Library. You all on the listserv may know him as Mr. Blueberry. So we are happy to have Ben as a voice on the cataloging committee of a newer cataloger. So that's something new that we have done. And I think that his voice is going to be a valuable voice on our committee. I'm moving along. The Missouri Evergreen Users Conference, just another reminder, we will do this reminder every month until it is April, because we have our first annual Missouri Evergreen Users Conference on April 12th through the 14th. That is going to be in Columbia in the Mornet meeting rooms. I'm sure that all kinds of more information will be coming. I do plan, I think I'm making an assumption here, but Mickey can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming we will have some kind of cataloging programs, cataloging program or programs. Again, we will get more information to you as we solidify the schedule and everything to the users conference.
I think that's a really fair assumption, Kate, and I'm sure Liz will have a lot to do with whatever training and support we offer at our first users conference next year.
Can't wait. Another reminder, our next migrating library is Barton County. They go live November 14th. As with all of our go lives for migrating libraries, we will have a cataloging freeze the week before they go live, which is November 7th through 13th. Of course, I'll keep these reminders going, and we will, of course, have a reminder closer to that date. The October meeting falls on a holiday that several of our libraries will be closed for. So I am going to go ahead and push that meeting to the third Monday of the month, which is October 17th. So mark your calendars accordingly, please. We have several projects that the committee will be working on in the next several months. I'm not going to put dates on these just yet, but just to keep everybody in the know, we are still working on the media piracy policy. We will continue working on that and hopefully have something to bring to the general membership soon. We will be making just a couple changes to the cataloging policy, mostly to reflect that we now have a consortium cataloger, a consortium executive director, and have solidified the certification process. So it will mostly just be verbiage changes, but those will be presented to the board and to the membership probably at the next meeting as well. Other things that we plan on doing in the future, hopefully sooner than later, we'll see how things pan out. We'll begin writing a full written guide for the monthly cataloging reports put out each month by Equinox. Last month at our cataloging meeting, we kind of did the highlights of how to go about doing those reports. I hope to have something even more in depth for every report that is given out. So that hopefully that will be helpful to our consortium members. We will also try to solidify onboarding procedures for both libraries migrating into our consortium and for newly hired catalogers. We have several new catalogers that have joined the consortium, and I think they probably just got thrown into the deep end. So hopefully we'll have something a little better for them, as well, of course, as completing the certification process. And along with the users conference, we will be doing regional cataloging training in 23. Liz will be hopefully maybe traveling to the different areas of Missouri. And even though we have the certification process now, regional trainings will always be helpful. So I feel like that's something to look forward to. Something that happened last week that I wanted everybody to be aware of. I'm going to bring up the gift donation item stat category was accidentally deleted last week. Equinox was able to restore the statistical category itself, but unfortunately, all the statistics that are related to that stat cat from February 2022 to September 7th, 2022, they are lost. That is very unfortunate. What I'm talking about right here is this statistical category, gift donation. Now, if you have specific grants that you have entered for your library in this section, your various grants and things, those are all okay. But if you used this very broad gift donation stat cat, those statistics are gone from this past February to last week. So if you use that stat cat heavily, you might need to do some investigating if you need to re-add those stat cats for those items. If I can be of any help, let me know. I'm not sure exactly how we could help, but we can try to maybe figure something out. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. On to our Catalogers Connect area. All the membership meetings and the standing committee meetings are on the ME meeting calendar that is on the website. The Evergreen Cataloging Interest Group, which is the wider Evergreen community, those meetings are held on the second Tuesday of the month. So the day following our meetings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You can check their wiki page for that. And I wanted to also mention that the first Missouri Evergreen Regional Circulation Training will be held at Scenic Regional Library on November 17th. So if you are interested in that, keep an eye out on the circulation listserv for more information on that. I know there are many catalogers that have many hats. So I wanted to be sure everybody was aware of that regional training. That's exciting for our CIRC people in Missouri Evergreen.
Appreciate it.
Okay, before we go into our cataloging discussions, anything anybody has questions about or wants to mention before we move on? Okay, so last month I put out something on the listserv and we got great response from subjects that people wanted to talk about in our cataloging meetings. Again, we're gonna try to go over several things at every meeting, like a mini training session, just overview of things that a lot of us already know. These are just going to be reminders, and hopefully they will be helpful to people. So first we're going to talk about Communicating via our Bib records. This is cataloger to cataloger. We're talking about the 040, the 049, and the 902 fields. So why do we use these fields in Missouri Evergreen? You've heard me refer to these fields as kind of breadcrumbs in the Bib records. We leave this information for our fellow catalogers to tell them the history of this Bib records edits. Let's see. So these fields are a way for us catalogers to communicate with one another via the Bib record. I think that's pretty cool that we do that. So let me bring up a Bib record here. Let's see. This was a bib that I was in this morning and was editing. So in the Bib record itself, the 040 field, which is here, libraries should place their OCLC code in a D field at the end of the string if you make any significant change or improvement to the record. So did you add a subject heading? Did you fix an incorrectly formatted title? Did you add a synopsis, a 520 field? Those are some examples of edits that would be made that would then require you to put your breadcrumb, your code at the end of that or 040 field. Those are formatted. Those are all formatted the same. Some are much longer than others. But this part right here, this delimiter B, delimiter E, these are going to be they should be in every 040 record. This means that we cataloged it in English and it is cataloged via using the RDA compliance rules. And so I have edited this Bib record this morning. So I put my code at the end of it. I also, when I merged these records, which we'll get to in a minute, there was not an 049 present. So an 049, if you are the library that's adding a Bib record to the catalog, you will add your own 049, your library's code as that 049. You'll also add one if there isn't one already present for a Missouri Evergreen library and you are editing that Bib record. If there's already an 049 there, even if you're editing it, you do not need to add, you should not add a second 049 record. You will put your code at the end of the 040. And this 049 is just kind of, I like to call it a calling card that tells fellow catalogers, hey, I edited this record or I uploaded this record into our system and it's got my stamp of approval. So if you are putting your 049, if you're putting your name in your code in the 049 and in the 040, you're essentially telling us fellow catalogers that you have looked over this Bib record and you feel like it's in good shape. So please keep that in mind. So this Bib record, I merged it this morning. So via the 902 field, you will see that right here. Whoops, I didn't do that. MJ8, which is my code, on 912, I merged this record. And again, this is communication via the Bib record from catalogers, one to the other. So the two 902 fields that we used are merged and overlay, and they're formatted like this. And obviously it shows that this record was merged or overlaid. And if you have just improved the record, but haven't merged or overlaid, that's when you would just use the 040 field. Anybody have any questions about the 040, 049, and 902 fields? Those, again, are how we communicate with one another via the Bib record.
I just have a comment because I'm very literal. You guys will get this as you work with me.
Yes, please.
In the 040, where it says the B English, that means the cataloging language. So we are English and we're cataloging English. It's not the language of the piece. So if we were
right, the language of the Bib record itself.
Spanish, that's not where that would go. It would be somewhere else in the record.
Right.
Just to
That
be
would go in the
clear.
008. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Liz. Yes, for that clarification.
Kate, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the 49 is the only one we put the A behind. We don't do it in the 040 or the 902. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The 049 is a 4+ character designation. So most of us have 3 character codes. Some of us have 4, some of us even have 5. But if yours is only 3, then you need to put that A on the 049. Like she said, you do not need to do that in any other field, only the 049. Great questions and comments. Anyone else? All right, what have we got next? Merging records. Why, when, and which one? Now, we all know that we could probably talk for hours about merging in Missouri Evergreen, but we're going to try to do just a quick who, what, when, where, why. So most importantly, why is merging records so important? I think we all know the answer to this, but first and foremost, it's to help our patrons and staff find exactly what they need. If you're looking for a title and there are even just 2 records, let alone 5, 10 sometimes, of the same item, it can be very confusing, especially to the patron. And when it comes to holds, that's even more problematic. So when is it appropriate to merge? Let's look at this document. I'm at the Missouri Evergreen website, cataloging training materials. I want guidelines for merging. We put this out near the end of 2020. I'm going to open this in a new tab. So this document obviously is on the website, free for anybody to look at and refer to as often as you need to. So we are most concerned when we are merging items, we're most concerned about the content of that material. So not necessarily the binding or even the ISBN or the UPC codes. We want the material, we want the content of those items to match one another so that we can potentially merge them and make it more streamlined for our patrons and staff to be able to find what they need in the catalog. So there's lots of do's and don'ts here that are outlined, very specifically in this document. Kind of as an overview for books, the page number needs to be within plus or minus 10 pages of what is in the 300 field in the bib record. The size of the item plus or minus, within 3 centimeters of what is in the characteristics in the 300 field. So that might bring to mind most obviously a trade paperback versus a hardcover versus a mass market paperback. Trade paperbacks and hardcovers more often than not can go on the same record because they're generally about the same size, 24 versus maybe 22 or 21. Sorry, I just saw a question in the chat. Does the symbol in the 049 need to be in all caps? Yes, the OCLC codes generally are in all caps, and you just transcribe your OCLC code as it is, which as far as I know, they're all in all caps. So yes. Okay, so back to books that we are merging. Let's see. The mass market paperbacks, that's what I was talking about. Those obviously are a much different size than a hardcover or trade paperback. So those will pretty much always be off on their own record. Now, could there potentially be 2 different mass market paperbacks for the same item that have 2 different ISBNs? Yeah, so those 2 mass market paperbacks could be put in one bib record, of course, with the qualifiers in the 020. And then the qualifiers are super important, especially when we are putting hardcover and trade paperbacks, soft covers on the same record. The qualifier is that Q field in the 020. And, that's where we would notate that this ISBN belongs to the hardcover. This other ISBN belongs to the soft cover or trade paperback or what have you. And again, in this document, there's a lot of do's and don'ts. Of course, we're not going to merge things that are a different language, that have a different illustrator, that have accompanying material or something like that. And of course, if it's a different format, we're never going to merge audiobooks and print records. We're never going to merge large print and regular print, that kind of thing. So different formats will never be merged together. For audiobooks, if you're deciding whether or not you can merge audiobooks, they need the exact same number of discs, the same running time, the same narrator. So things that are less important than those are, publisher, distributor, that kind of thing. We want them to be, we're looking at the content of the material. So has to be the same number of discs, running time, and narrator. That's kind of along the same lines that we're going to do for DVDs and Blu-rays. It's got to have the exact same number of discs, the same running time, special features, that kind of thing. Yes, widescreen, when we're talking about older movies, widescreen and full screen, those can be merged together as long as they have the same content, as long as they have the same special features and that kind of thing. And that would be when you would make sure both UPCs were in that bib record. And then you would put a qualifier on the UPC, like this is for the widescreen, this was for the full screen. They don't really do full screens anymore, so again, this would be for maybe some older material. So before I move on within merging, anybody have any questions so far?
Kate, this is Carol in Cuba, and I do want to clarify something. When we're pulling in a record from the Z39 on an audiobook, if we have a single MP3 and the only OCLCs that we can find in our search in Z39 have multi-discs, we need to create one from scratch, not modify what's on an OCLC record already, correct?
Correct. Yes, you need MP3s can never be put on the same bib record as a multi-disc audio book, that kind of thing. So it does need to be created with that MP3 bib record.
Right. I think what was confusing to somebody that had asked me a question is they found a record in the Z39 and they were just going to change the discs from like 7 discs to 1 MP3. And I didn't think that was that should be done, that you should create your own.
Well, I mean, it depends on how comfortable you are with cataloging, I would probably do that, but it means that you have to fix all the fixed fields. It means everything needs to be fixed in that bib record. Now, it might be easier to have that multi-disc bib record beside you when you're creating from scratch and take the subject headings and that kind of thing. It would be more of a copy catalog scenario there. If you're super comfortable with cataloging, the OCLC number, of course, is not going to match if you are putting in an MP3, but you have imported an audiobook with discs record in. So, it's, I'm not going to say it's a gray area because, again, it depends on how comfortable you are with cataloging. If you are more comfortable and, you want to create it from scratch, that's great practice, of course, to create something from scratch using another bib record to copy from. You can do that. So both are okay, but do what you're most comfortable with. If you do import a record from Z39 that is not the format that you ultimately will be using, and you are unsure if you did it correctly, please email Cat Help and we can show you, hey, you did great. This actually needs to be changed. If you do that, if you continue doing it this way, then be sure you check this and this and this and this. So importing a record that ultimately will get changed a lot is kind of akin to copy cataloging. So it can be done. You just have to be very vigilant and make sure that everything is changed. So I know I hope that didn't confuse you further. If, again, if you feel like you're not comfortable with knowing everything that needs to be changed in a bib record to make it a different format altogether, then you should create one from scratch.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Right, so now we're going to talk about which record should be chosen to be merged to. So I am going to, let's see, what am I going to do? I'm going to search for a title. So I have got Space Ranger to the Rescue. So these are my search results. I see this on screen and I'm like, oh, this is the book I want, but wait, there's more. We have 2 bib records here. So, I mean, I could, what I'm going to do for first thing off is I'm going to look at the page numbers, the size of it, and it looks pretty much the same. The publisher is even the same on this one, the pub date and everything. So I'm pretty confident that these are going to be able to be merged, but I'm going to put them in my buckets and I'm going to compare them even further when I go to merge them. So I'm going to add this basket to my bucket. And then I'm going to go to my buckets. And I'm going to click to select them all. And you can either go to Actions Merge or right click Merge. And this is one of my favorite screens. This is great. You can see your bib records side by side and see which one has the better information, which one is going to be your lead record. So keep in mind that no matter which record that you choose, it's always going to ultimately need to be edited further, even after you pick your lead record. So you want to choose the one that has the most complete bibliographic information. That does not always mean the longest record. This one is obviously longer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the better bib record. And one of the most important things when you're picking the lead record, well, you'll pick your lead record. For this one, let's see, I'm going to do a quick comparison. So we do have 2 different ISBNs here, paperback versus library binding. We have the same author. We have the same title, the same illustration team. These even have the same publisher and pub date, like I said, has the same page numbers and everything. They're the same series. So I am very confident that these 2 bib records can be merged. The most important thing, I am going to pick this one as my lead record. So I'm going to say use as lead record. I did that because it's got really good subject headings, genre headings. It's got your 710s and 730s. All of this looks really good. The most important thing, because we are merging 2 items that are 2 different formats, meaning they have 2 different ISBNs, I have to take the ISBNs from this bib record that will eventually be gone. I'm merging away from it. Every item that is on this bib record is going to go to this bib record. But the record, the holdings that are on this record are using this ISBN. So it must be in the bib record that I'm merging to. So I'm going to copy this information and I'm going to edit using the full editor here. So this is this bib record. It's brought up front, and this is where you can edit your bib record before it merges. And yes, you can edit a bib record after you merge them, but you're not going to have that information once that bib record is gone. So you have to do it from this screen. You have to get those other ISBNs that will be combined into this one bib record. So I just did a simple copy paste, all of that information, all the formatting and everything. I just popped it right in here. I can do a quick edit here as well. Our 035s, we only want OCLC numbers or ME numbers. So I'm going to pitch this one. My 040, my D field is here. It already has an 049, so I do not need to add an 049. It has two different series statements. Again, we know how to check the authorities and all of that stuff, but this is not a valid series. We do have that information in a 246 here at head of title, Disney Pixar. So I am going to delete this series 490 and its accompanying 830. And doing a quick look over, I feel really good about this merge. Everything looks great. So another very important thing, you have to, after editing an item using this screen, you have to save it first up top and then hit done down here. If you do not save it first and just hit done, all of your edits will not be there. So as you can see here, these are the 020s that I needed to put in here, and they are in this record now. And all of the other edits that I made are also there. So one thing I forgot. Let me go to my copy paste here. Everybody, you know, everybody knows I use one of these copy paste pages. So I merged this. So this is my copy paste, my 902. And then I'm going to edit using full editor again. And I'm going to pop that 902 in there, saying that my library merged this item on 9/12/22. So all of my calling cards are in this bib record. My 040 is my 040 code is at the end here. It already had an 049, and my 902 is there. I am going to merge. And it opens your merged record into a new tab. I'm going to then remove from my bucket. I'm going to clear out my bucket. And then
Yes, did I just miss her? Was that?
Yeah, I just wondered.
let's see, sorry guys.
I wrote, are you
Okay, so this is our merged bib record. You can see all of the holdings that were on both records are now on one record. Our mark is the way we edit it with both ISBNs. Always remember that the only way or the easiest way to edit your fixed fields is to go into enhanced editor to make sure that your audience and all of this stuff is filled out. I do prefer, I do know that the enhanced mark editor is the easiest way to edit the 008. So I do that, but then I personally, I prefer to work in the flat text editor. That's again, personal preference. So, and I'm saving changes, and then this item is merged. So I forgot one very important thing. Does anybody want to chime in and tell me what I forgot? Nope. Let's see. Nope. Here we go. Back to my copy paste document. Thank you. Yes, I forgot my 500 field. So my 500 field, if you put two different ISBNs, two different UPCs, two different anything on the same bib record, this again, this is patron forward. Patrons can see a notes field, but it's mostly for catalogers, you know, again, another communication via the bib record. But this just says publisher, publishing dates, and pagings may vary. So for this example that I just did, it did happen to be the same publisher. It did happen to be the same pub date, the same page numbers and everything. Now, if it, again, we are allowed to merge them together if it's plus or minus 10 pages, you know, a little bit of a different size. So this is just saying, hey, there are more than one variation of this book on this bib record. And this is just a, you know, little caveat, a little covering ourselves that say, we are aware that the versions that are on this bib record could vary a little bit from one to another. Okay. Saving my changes, and we now have deduped the catalog by one title. I mean, we are one closer. So Anybody have any questions about merging?
Have you ever
I
looked
have-
at two records that have been merged and decided someone didn't use very good judgment about either choosing a lead record or editing the bibliographic record, and you feel like, yeah, I need to undo that merge? Is that a possibility?
It is not a possibility. You cannot unclick the clickable. you can't unfire the gun. Now, it is potentially something that Equinox could do behind the scenes if it were a big project or something. Everybody that's been with us a while knows that, you know, we merged a lot of DVDs in a deduplication project, and then they unmerged them for us. But on a case by case, when we're doing merging here, you cannot unmerge something that you have merged. That is when I think we've all probably done it once or twice. We have merged something and you're like, oh no. And you have to send out an email via the listserv that says, I just did a boo-boo. I merged these two records. Please check all of your items. But yes, as Mickey stated, you cannot undo something that you have already merged. Everybody will have to go look at their holdings on that record that you merged everything to. And check and see if their items are on the correct record. That is why we go over merging so often. Some of you might be sitting at your desk thinking, we have gone over this so many times, but it is for that exact reason that Mickey mentioned. Once you merge, you cannot unmerge. So knowing how to do it, knowing how to be confident in doing it, knowing what to look for, that is going to be very important, because we need massive amounts of merging in our catalog. It is very important for all of us to be doing our due diligence and doing our part to deduplicate the catalog. But you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be confident knowing what you're looking for, and merging items that do, in fact, their content does in fact match.
I'm just going to say I have a whole new respect for this. I am not a cataloger. I've already said that very many times before, but I'm putting you in a category with kindergarten teachers. You have all of my respect, because these are things I would not be able to do myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue. I think that for most of us, especially those of us that have completed the certification training, those of us that have been cataloging a while, those of us that have been cataloging in Missouri Evergreen a while, we all know how important merging is, and we all need to be really comfortable with doing it. So if you feel like it's something that you're maybe aren't comfortable with, go to our test server and, start practicing until it becomes second nature. Because again, I can have a stack of books that I'm cataloging, and it could be only 5 books. I can guarantee you that one of those 5 books, I will find something in my search results that is going to need merged. Pretty much everything I do in cataloging, if I have a search result screen, I find something that needs merged. So it is one of the most important things we do as consortium, as a collective catalogers for consortium catalog. Okay. We are only going to talk about one more thing, and we are just going to this is just kind of a reminder of this document. This was put out by the committee. Ron and Allison worked on this document, and it is fairly new. We released it at the beginning of this year, so I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. These are just kind of things that us as catalogers, we notice a lot that maybe they get overlooked. So just make sure that in every bib record, before you're clicking out of your records, that these are the things you're checking. So just a quick overview, your 007 field is for AV materials. We all know that the 007 drives that icon in Missouri Evergreen. So if for some reason your icon isn't showing correctly, or that kind of thing, the likely culprit is your 007. Please always check that your item has your ISBNs in it, your 020s, and we ask, please put these qualifiers on them. That is for your fellow catalogers. Again, communication via the bib record. This goes a long way when for those merging situations, for those overlay situations, for identifying bib records. These qualifiers are very helpful to your fellow catalogers. We went over in depth the 040 and the 049 today. Be sure that you're checking those. If your item has an 050 in it, that's the LC call number. We don't use those. Those can be deleted. The 092 is a local, your local call number. You can't put any local information in our shared bibliographic records. So, and 090 is the Dewey classification. So you keep your 090 in there, or do I have that backwards? I think it's 09. Yeah.
082 is.
082.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I knew that something that wasn't sitting right in my brain. The 082 is your Dewey. And that is your official Dewey classification. So 092, 090, those are all local call numbers, and we cannot put any local information in our shared bibliographic records. Be sure your author fields are formatted correctly. Your title fields, of course. Title fields can get pretty complicated sometimes, especially when we're going into, manga or graphic novels, that kind of thing. So something that you might want to do when you're doing a title like that is look at the rest of the series. How are those titles formatted for, if you're adding book 7 in a series, look at book 1 through 6 and see how they're formatted. We want that continuity. Your 250 is your edition statement. This is especially important with nonfiction titles and that kind of thing. Your 300, the physical attributes. This is one of the things that is most important to check because it's often one of the things that is most often incorrect. We will get bib records from publishers or OCLC who have made the record before the item was officially out. So those page numbers are often wrong. So be sure that you're checking the page number against your item in hand. 500 record, again, we talked about if you're merging to put this little caveat statement in there. Any information in a 590 field, that kind of thing needs to be deleted. And then if you have worked, if you've merged or overlaid your record, be sure you're adding that 902. So I like to call this kind of a greatest hits document. This is where, and we might look at this soon and add even more to it. There are certain things that you need to be checking every single time you're in a bib record. But this document is very helpful. Again, you might, have it on hand to check until you're really used to checking all of these things. And again, that is on the Missouri Evergreen website, the member resources, cataloging training materials, and all of these things here are great resources to have as a Missouri Evergreen catalog. Just another reminder that the October meeting has been pushed back a week to October 17th. So it is the third Monday of the month in October. That is all I have to talk about today. Does anybody have any comments or questions, anything they want to talk about?
I have one question quickly on the cataloging reporting and stuff. When someone runs across a catalog entry that is lacking an image or has an incorrect image, is there a protocol for reporting that, or is that something that each individual library has to deal with, Kate?
Great question. So if we do have a stock photo for things that don't have a cover. If you notice that it has the wrong cover, I think a good first course of action maybe is to overlay that record because or the cover is driven by the first 020, the first ISBN or UCC 024 that is listed in the catalog, that is listed in that bib record. So check that first. If that ISBN doesn't belong to that title or something like that, that's your first course of action. Sometimes the Evergreen can be really persnickety, and the only way that I can get something to change is if I totally overlay the record. Maybe it's the same ISBN even or something, but we can still overlay the record to see if that can change. Remember, sometimes it can take up to 3 to 5 days for that cover to change. Now, if you have done all of that and the cover is still completely wrong, we have a third-party vendor that we get our covers from, Synthetics, and I will put their email in the minutes that I put out, the notes for this meeting. You just email them and say, hey, this ISBN and this cover do not match. Can you please look at it? Do they have the best track record of actually fixing, of actually following up? I'll be honest, no. It's about, I'm not even going to say 50-50 for me. Sometimes, and sometimes you'll find that across the board in all of library land, some ISBNs and the title and the covers, they're wrong everywhere. So that's kind of an interesting phenomenon, but we do have a course of action that we can do. Again, try to overlay the record first with, with that ISBN. And again, make sure that all of that information that was in the record that you're overlaying is moved to that new bib record. If there's more than one ISBN set or something like that, that's very important. And then if not, we can try to email Synthetics. Oh, and Mickey has the best news ever. He says that he thinks we'll have the capability of adding our own images after we update to 310. Now, this is something we don't want to abuse, but especially for kits and things like that, local stuff, this is going to be awesome. And then in these cases that for some reason the titles and the covers just aren't matching, that is when we would want to do that. So that is really exciting. And a note that Ben put in, see emerge, do emerge. We love that quote here in Missouri Evergreen. So, and sometimes for me, just a little note, if I am swamped, I will just go ahead and add that title to a bucket. I might not be able to get to it right then to merge it, but I will have that title in my bucket to do when I do get a second. Yes, see emerge, do emerge. Any more questions?
Yes, I have a quick question. I'm cataloging some great courses, and most of them are like under the DVD icon. I did come across a couple with the kit icon. I don't really want mine in a kit. Do I do a new record? I mean, that's not ideal either. I don't know what the answer is.
I did see that email. I mean, no, you do not want to put another bib record in the system, especially if it's for the exact same item. The icon that is showing as kit, that means there's more than one format in that material. So with the great courses, I'm assuming there's probably a book and CDs, DVDs, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Technically, that is a kit. That is correctly cataloged. It needs to be cataloged as a kit. Now, that really shouldn't affect any searches. I mean, if your patrons search great courses, if they search, whatever the title is, it being a kit versus it being a book doesn't affect that search result.
Okay.
That's a great question, though. Even if you're not totally a fan of an icon or the material that is showing up in the bib record that is displaying, we still absolutely do not want to duplicate a bib record in the catalog.
Okay.
But feel free to, email Cat Help and, get an opinion on what's going on. And so great question. Thank you.
Kate,
Yes.
just a quick reminder for everyone to put their name and library in the chat so you can get credit for being here today.
Yes, thank you. Okay, one last call for questions and comments. It's great to see so many of you here today. Again, super welcome to Liz Rudolph. We can't wait to get started really working in depth with her. We're really going to start throwing some stuff at her. We're not going We're trying not to run her out of town. I think she can handle it. And we will see you guys next month, October 17th.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kate.